on the day my family tried to give me a $5,000 check, CNN told them I was a billionaire. The Christmas lights blinked the same way they had every year, warm, rhythmic, and slightly offbeat. Like this house never noticed the world had moved on. My parents' living room still smelled like cinnamon and nostalgia. Same tree, same ornaments, same unspoken judgments wrapped in tinsel. The angel on top leaned left again. I could have fixed it, but some imbalances aren't worth touching. I hung a silver bell on a low branch, careful, measured. In the kitchen, my mother's voice sliced through the air like a butter knife pressed just a bit too hard. "Lena, sweetie, have you updated your resume?" Not "how are you," not "welcome home," just a subtle reminder. In this house, you were either achieving or disappointing. At 12, I learned the difference was tone. "I'm not job hunting, Mom," I said, keeping my voice even. "You should be." She appeared in the doorway with a tray of sugar cookies, shaped like stars and trees. Baked perfection, decorated disapproval. "You're almost 30, Lena. You can't float forever." Dad looked up from his newspaper, glasses low on his nose. "She's right. Stability matters. You need something real. Didn't your cousin get you that interview at the insurance firm?" "I didn't go." "Exactly the problem." He folded the paper like it offended him. "You can't be picky when you don't have a steady paycheck." The tree sparkled behind me. The judgment in their voices outshone it. And before we go any further, take a second to like this video and subscribe. Stories like this, the quiet kind, the underestimated kind, they deserve to be heard. Now, watch what happens next. The front door creaked open, bringing in a rush of cold air and the sound of boots on hardwood. My older brother, Grant, shook snow from his coat as his perfect wife, Elise, herded their matching 7-year-old twins toward the fireplace. "Talking about Lena's job situation again?" he asked, with the casual smirk of someone who'd never been doubted a day in his life. He grabbed a cookie, bit into it like he owned the place, because in a way, he did. "What is it this year? Freelance consultant? Remote strategist? Digital wizard?" "I have a job," I said flatly. "Right," he grinned. The mysterious laptop life. Mom leaned into the performance. She's been doing it for 3 years now, no office, no benefits. Just her and that apartment. "She's stubborn," Elise chimed in, already unwrapping the twins' scarves. "I saw on LinkedIn you haven't updated your profile in 2 years. That's not ideal for job hunting. I took a branding workshop. Could help you." "I'm not job hunting." "You should be," Mom repeated, voice sharpening. "I've tried explaining," I said, "to no one in particular, and I had 3 years ago, back when I left my role as a senior engineer at a major tech firm to co-found a healthcare data platform from my living room. Back when I was still naive enough to think they'd listen. Back when I thought telling them about a predictive algorithm that could help hospitals save lives might matter more than whether I had a cubicle and a manager. They smiled politely, then offered alternative careers: nurse, teacher, receptionist, jobs that made sense to them. Dad piped up again. "Any job is better than no job. You can't be aimless at your age." "I'm not aimless," I said, quieter than I meant to. Grant sprawled on the couch like a man in command of the room. "You could come work at my dental practice. I need someone at the front desk. Benefits, stability." It was offered like a lifeline. They still thought I was drowning. What none of them knew, what they refused to know, was that I hadn't been floating. I'd been building. While they were making LinkedIn comments and offering desk jobs, my company, Virologic Health, had grown from 2 laptops in a cramped apartment to 85 employees across Seattle, Boston, and D.C. 8 months ago, we closed a $180 million Series B round. We'd landed clients like Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, and the Cleveland Clinic. Just last month, the CDC awarded us a federal contract to develop a national pandemic preparedness platform. But to my family, I was still unemployed. Because I didn't look successful to them, because my success didn't wear a blazer or sit in traffic or hang a diploma on the wall. They never asked what Virologic did. Not really. The one time I tried to walk Mom through our predictive model and how it had already flagged early-stage sepsis in over 1,000 ICU patients. She blinked, smiled politely, and said, "You should go back to school. Nursing is stable." "You'd be helping people," she added. "I am helping people," I told her. "We've helped hospitals save hundreds of lives." But to her, if it didn't come with a stethoscope or a name tag, it wasn't real. So I learned to smile back, shrink down, speak less. Not because I didn't believe in my work, but because I knew they didn't have the framework to process it. The truth wasn't just invisible to them, it was incompatible. The last time they visited my apartment, a $1.2 million loft I paid for in full, they asked if I'd thought about getting a roommate to help with rent. I let them. Sometimes it's safer to play along than to watch them break trying to understand. Because sometimes silence is easier than explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to believe you. "Dinner's almost ready," Mom chirped, snapping the tension like a reflex. "Lena, would you set the table?" I moved to the dining room, silverware in hand, listening as the conversation returned to safer topics. Grant's expanding practice, Elise's promotion, the twins' achievements, and my cousin's engagement to a lawyer. I was invisible again, which was fine, for now. The dining room looked like a Hallmark card, crystal glasses, gold-trimmed plates, a pine-cone centerpiece, dusted with fake snow. But under the sparkle was something colder, something older. As we took our seats, my Aunt Regina, wrapped in faux fur and perfume, smiled sweetly across the table. "And what are you up to these days, Lena?" Before I could speak, Mom jumped in. "She's between opportunities," she said, ladling mashed potatoes, "but actively looking." I wasn't, but that didn't matter. "Oh, the market's tough," Aunt Regina nodded. "My neighbor's daughter just got a job at Starbucks. Not ideal, but at least it's something." Dad carved the turkey like he was cutting through my patience. "Lena's situation is different," he said, glancing around. "She's got a degree, computer something, right?" "Computer science," I said. "From MIT. He nodded solemnly. "Which means she's overqualified for most jobs, but lacks the real-world experience companies want. It's a tough spot." He said it like I wasn't there. Grant raised his wine glass. "Here's hoping the new year brings her something solid." They all drank to that. I chewed my turkey in silence. After dinner, we drifted back to the living room. The fireplace crackled, the kids opened toys, and then, "This one's for you, Lena," Mom said, handing me a wrapped box. "Something practical. Thought you might need it." Inside was a black leather portfolio, cheaply monogrammed, with a notepad and business card holder. The kind of thing people bring to interviews when they're begging for a foot in the door. Something in my chest pulled tight. Not pain, just pressure. Familiar. Old. "For interviews," she explained. "First impressions matter." "Thank you," I said. Because that's what you say when your parents gift you the symbol of their lowest expectations. But it wasn't over. Dad cleared his throat, pulled an envelope from behind the couch. We talked it over. We know money's probably tight. This should help tide you over. Inside, a check for $5,000. My face stayed still, but my hands went cold, like my body understood the insult before my brain could catch up. For rent, groceries, whatever you need, Mom said. I folded the check, set it gently on the table, like it might shatter. I appreciate the gesture, but I don't need financial help. Dad's face tightened. Pride won't pay your bills. I'm not being prideful. I'm telling you I'm fine. You say that, Mom said sharply, but we never see any proof. No job title, no updates, nothing that looks real. Before I could respond, the TV volume jumped. My nephew had hit the remote, and just like that, Christmas was over. We're interrupting our holiday programming. The CNN anchor's voice cut through the room like a knife through frosting. My nephew had accidentally turned up the volume, the remote clutched in one sticky hand. On screen, a red banner flashed. Breaking news. Identity of healthcare tech founder revealed. Turn that off, sweetheart, Elise said absently. But the screen had already changed. Headline bold, anchor serious. The mystery founder behind Virologic Health, one of the fastest-growing companies in American healthcare, has been identified after 3 years of anonymity. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Lisa, it leaked. I'm so sorry. It's everywhere. I froze. The anchor continued. Founded by a former MIT engineer, Virologic recently secured a $180 million Series B funding round and a $300 million federal contract with the CDC. Mom reached for the remote. Let's watch something cheerful. Wait, Grant said, sitting up. Virologic? That name sounds familiar. The company's predictive analytics platform is credited with saving thousands of lives by helping hospitals optimize patient treatment in real time. And then it happened. My name. 29-year-old Lena Hart, former Microsoft engineer, is the founder and CEO of Virologic Health. The room froze. My spine locked. I hadn't heard my name said that publicly in years. And never like this. Everything stopped. The TV showed my photo, not a selfie, but my official press portrait. The one Forbes had shot for a January cover story. That, Aunt Regina pointed, that's Lena. Elena Hart owns 68% of Virologic, the anchor said. At its current valuation of $2.1 billion, her estimated personal net worth is approximately $1.4 billion. Dad's wine glass slipped from his hand. Red spread across the carpet. No one moved. That can't be right, Mom whispered. Is that real? Grant asked, already pulling out his phone. I tried to tell you, I said quietly. CNN kept going. She began developing the core technology while at Microsoft, the anchor explained. Her algorithms are now used by more than 400 hospitals. At Johns Hopkins alone, ICU mortality dropped by 23% after implementation. A doctor appeared on screen. Virologic's predictive tools are saving lives every day, he said. We're talking about real people, surviving because of Lena Hart's vision. Jennifer, their marketing director friend, blinked at her phone. This is on Bloomberg, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, BBC, everywhere. And you own all this, Mom's voice cracked. I didn't answer. On screen, a new headline. The invisible billionaire, How Lena Hart changed healthcare from a Seattle apartment. Aunt Regina gasped, "This is international." Dad's face went white. "We tried to give you a check," he said, stunned. "A $5,000 check." Grant let out a strangled sound. "You turned down a $900 million offer from Google last year." "They wanted control of the tech," I said. "It wasn't about the money." Silence. Just the sound of the fire and the voice of the anchor, still unraveling everything they thought they knew about me. Mom stepped back like she'd seen a ghost. Her Christmas sweater shimmered under the flicker of the TV, but her face had gone pale. "I told people you were in transition," she whispered. "I know." Dad rubbed his face with both hands. "We gave you a leather portfolio for interviews." "I remember." Jennifer sat down slowly, scrolling. "It says you paid cash for your apartment, $1 million loft?" 1.2, I corrected softly. They rounded down. Aunt Regina had her hands over her mouth. "I told my friends you were still figuring things out, that you didn't know what you wanted to do." "I did," I said. "I just stopped trying to convince anyone." CNN was now showing footage of our Boston office, glass walls, standing desks, engineers in quiet focus. A voiceover detailed our mission, our growth, our impact. You really did all this?" Dad asked, eyes on the screen. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Grant was still glued to his phone. "This says MIT gave you a Distinguished Alumni Award 6 months ago." I sent the article to the family group chat. "I must have deleted it." "I figured." Mom moved to the window, shoulders trembling. "You've been saving lives," she said, "and we gave you a check." "You meant well." "We thought you couldn't make rent," Dad murmured. "You thought I was failing," I said, "and you never asked, never really listened." "You should have made us listen," he said. "How?" I stepped forward. "You interrupted, redirected, corrected. I said I was building something, and you handed me dental receptionist listings. I said I had a company, and you suggested temp work. No one argued." Jennifer whispered, "They're calling you the future of healthcare." "I'm trying to be." The twins looked up from their toys. "Aunt Lena," one of them asked, "are you rich like Iron Man?" "Richer," Grant said quietly, still staring at his screen. Mom turned, mascara streaked. "I feel like we failed you." "You didn't fail me," I said. "You just never saw me." Dad's voice was small. "We owe you an apology." I nodded. "You do." They all looked at me, finally, like I was someone new. But I wasn't new. I'd just stopped waiting for their permission to exist. Dad picked up the envelope with the check like it might burn through his hands. Dad stared at the check like it had grown teeth. "We gave you money," he said, stunned. "Told you to take receptionist jobs. Thought we were helping." "You were helping a version of me you invented," I said. "The one who needed saving." Mom's voice cracked. "We just wanted you to be okay." "I was," I said. "You just didn't believe me." "Because you never showed us," Dad said. "You didn't." "I did," I cut in. 2 Christmases ago, you called it a scam." He looked down, said nothing. "I stopped trying because you stopped listening," I said. "I wasn't quiet, you were selective." Grant opened his mouth, hesitated. "Tell me this," I said, turning to him. "When was the last time they praised you without using me as the contrast?" He didn't answer. I've always been the family contrast, the cautionary tale. The daughter who didn't settle down, didn't play safe, didn't make sense. And yet, I said softly, here I am. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. We thought we were guiding you. No, I said. You were controlling the narrative, and when I didn't follow the script, you assumed I was lost. Mom reached for me, tentative. We love you. I never doubted that, I said. But love without respect feels like pity. I respect you now, she whispered, because CNN told you to. Silence. I needed that respect when all I had was a dream and a rented apartment and a co-founder with student loans. I needed it when I was scared, when I was uncertain, when I chose to build instead of settle. Dad looked up slowly. What do you need from us now? I don't know, I said. Maybe just acknowledgement, that I was never broken, that I didn't need saving, that I made good decisions even when they didn't look like yours. You were right, he said, about everything, and we were wrong. He paused, then added quietly, You're brilliant. I let the words hang there for a moment. For the first time, they didn't feel too late. The TV had moved on. Analysts were debating Virologic's valuation. If they expand globally, one said, this could be a $10 billion company in 5 years. Jennifer stood abruptly. I need air. She stepped outside, leaving the front door open to the cold. The twins, oblivious, looked up. Aunt Lena, are you famous now? Yes, Grant said quietly. She is. Cool, one of them said. Can you buy a spaceship? Dad shook his head slowly. You're going to be everywhere, aren't you? I already am, I replied, glancing at my phone. 63 missed calls, 147 texts, emails flooding in. Lisa's Slack messages were spiraling. Anderson Cooper's team called again. Bloomberg wants you live tomorrow. What do we do? Then the doorbell rang. We all froze. My stomach dropped. The air changed. Like the house itself realized it wasn't safe anymore. Reporters? Dad whispered. I checked the security app on my phone. Worse, I said. The neighbors. Mrs. Henderson stood on the porch, beaming in a reindeer sweater, holding a bottle of wine. We just saw the news, she gushed, as Dad opened the door. We had no idea Lena was... Yes, Aunt Regina cut in. It's all very new. Mr. Henderson stepped in. Could we maybe get a photo? Now's not really. Just one quick shot, they pleaded. Our friends will never believe we live next to a billionaire. They posed in front of the tree. I smiled with my mouth, not my eyes. Grant took the photo, then another, then one with my parents, then a group shot. It's starting, Jennifer said, returning from the cold. The circus. She was right. Within the hour, 6 more groups stopped by. Book club friends, golf buddies, people we hadn't spoken to in years, suddenly full of warmth and admiration. By 9 p.m., my patience had evaporated. I need to leave. Mom looked devastated. But it's Christmas. It was Christmas. Now it's a press event. You can stay. We'll keep people away. There are photographers across the street, I said, pointing. Tomorrow morning, this house will be surrounded. Dad peeked through the blinds. Sure enough, camera flashes, tripods. A man on his phone pacing the sidewalk. How did they find us so fast? Public records. Once CNN dropped my name, everything became searchable. What should we do? Nothing, I said. Don't talk to them. Don't answer questions. I'll send you the PR contact. Mom grabbed my hand. Before you go, please, I need you to know how proud I am, how sorry I am, how much I love you. I looked at her. I hugged everyone before I left. Mom, Dad, Grant, Jennifer, even Aunt Regina. The twins got high fives. I pulled on my coat. My phone buzzed again. I didn't look. "Lena," Grant called as I reached the door. "For what it's worth, I really am proud of you. Not just for the company, but for the kind of impact you're making. You're a dentist, Grant. You help people every day." He gave a weak smile. "It's not the same." "It doesn't have to be." Outside, the cold hit me like a wave. Camera shutters snapped. Voices rose. "Ms. Hart, how does it feel to be revealed? Are you giving interviews? Will you address the CDC contract?" I didn't answer. My car was still the same Honda Civic I'd been driving for years, parked behind a line of reporters expecting a Tesla or something German. I got in, turned the key, and pulled away. In the rearview mirror, my family watched from the window. Mom still crying. Dad holding her close, Grant beside them. The kids' small faces pressed to the glass. My phone rang, Lisa again. "Hey," I answered through Bluetooth. "Hey, you okay?" "Define okay." She laughed. "Fair, the office is chaos. We've had 70 media requests in 3 hours. Everyone wants you live. Forbes wants to bump the cover. Anderson Cooper personally called again. Decline." "Lena." "Lisa, we built Vera Logic to save lives, not to build a media brand. We can't ignore this. You're the biggest story in tech right now." "Then here's the plan. 1 press conference. Tomorrow. 5 questions, 1 statement. Then we're done. We get back to work." She paused. "That's not enough?" "It has to be. We have a CDC system to finish. Hospitals depending on us. I'm not letting a media cycle become the story." "You're right," she said quietly. "You usually are. I hate that you know that." She laughed again. "Your family, are they okay?" "They're stunned, processing, humiliated." "You didn't lie." "No, but I didn't fight their narrative either." "Because it wasn't worth it?" "Because the mission was." I passed the town limits. The houses thinned. The road opened. Another text from Mom came through. "I love you. I'm sorry. So proud of you, always." Another from Grant. "You really turned down $900 million. You're insane. Also, kind of my hero." I smiled. Seattle was ahead. The work was ahead. The noise behind me. I thought of the tree back home, the angel on top still leaning left. I could have fixed it, but maybe it didn't need fixing. Some imbalances never straighten, but the truth, this time, had found its way upright.